Alright, so we're going to go on to part 2 where we color this lovely window thingamabob that we've made. And I decided I wanted to give it sort of a hot flame vibe. So my colors are yellow, orange, and red for this. When deciding on the colors for the other one, I did green, like a teal, and this sort of like magenta purple. It says violet, purple, violet, whatever. And I did the lightest first, which is this jade green. And then I did a cobalt blue, which is kind of a teal blue in the Caran d'Ache Super Colors. And then I did the magenta on top, which I did multiple times, and then I used a little bit of black around the edge to make sure it got nice and dark to give it that rounded edge of a gem. So let's talk about color for just a sec. In wanting to do this, you can do the colors in whatever, like, order. That's the word I'm looking for. Order that you want to. I'm just doing it this way because I want a certain look. Which is, I want it all to feel like kind of like light inside of it, and then like encapsulated by like a darker gem. Which is why I'm doing it the way I am, with the darkest on top. You could do it the opposite though, if you wanted to, and do the darkest on the bottom, and then build up and do the lightest on the top if you wanted to. It would be very interesting, and I might do one that way in the future to see how it turns out. So, these are my favorite watercolor pencils. These are the Caran d'Ache Super Colors. Supra colors. They're not super, they're Supra. I don't know if you can see that. Supra colors. 2 softs. And they have a little water brush on them. These are my absolute favorite watercolor pencils as far as I've tried out ones. I haven't tried out a ton of them, so there's that. But out of the ones that I have tried out, these are not like the most budget ones or anything like that. But I do really, really, really love them. They are wonderful pencils. And then I have a Treacle Golden Taklon brush, a number 5. I really like Treacle. Their brushes are awesome. And it is great for watercolor as well as acrylic. Although I don't have a whole lot of them because they are more expensive. So I usually don't use them for acrylic because those tend to get a little bit messed up after I've used them for acrylic and, forget to clean them properly. We're not going to talk about that. So, anyway, let's get started. It is pretty simple to do these. I'm going to start with my lightest, like I told you. Go down to the very bottom one, and then we're going to pick out my little bubbles down here. And just go around the edge of them with the chosen color, whatever it is for you. Just like that. With watercolor pencils, if they're good ones at least, you don't have to worry about like being super precise or anything like that. They blend out with water great. And leave like no like residue or anything like that. But that's if you have good ones. Like I've had really bad ones. I had some Sergeant Arts a long time ago, and they were horrible, and they scratched, and they didn't like blend out worth anything. So super easy, just like that. Then you're going to take, if you have a water brush, you prefer that, you can always do that. Take your brush and going to wet a little bit of this in there so that it flows nice and easy. And then you just go in and wet your pigment, and I kind of bring it out and blend it a little bit. Gives a perfect gradient, which I love. Super easy. So I go back and I wet this, and then I hit that pigment, bring it out just like that. Get a little more water on this one because it's a bigger space. Go in with that pigment, turns it a vibrant yellow that almost hurts your eyes, like the sun's rays, and blend it out just like that. Now, one of the important things about doing gems like this and using a water media is that each of these layers must dry completely, and I do mean completely, before you go in and do the next layer. Why that is, and make sure you get this entire thing wet, like all the pigment, because when you do the next layer, if it's not been wetted enough or it's not been blended out, like if it hasn't been wetted and then like absorbed into the paper, basically, when you do the next layer, it's going to basically re-wet the pigment that hasn't been wetted will be activated, and then you'll be mixing them, which isn't a bad thing if you're using colors like this where it's, you know, just gonna kind of build onto one another and it's not really gonna mess it up. If you're using colors that are going to get muddy together, like complementaries, like yellow and purple, red and green, or blue and orange, and you don't want them to mix together and get kind of muddy, you do need to make sure that you get all of the pigment activated this time. So I'm being sure to do that. Forgot a color in here, that's okay. And then you got to make sure that this dries completely before doing the next layer, so that there's less of a chance of the layer underneath lifting and mixing with your next layer, because you will be painting over it, obviously. Now, if you're doing this just with colored pencils, there's no reason not to do it. Just keep going, because colored pencils don't need to dry first. If you are doing it with colored pencils and you mix it with a solvent like odorless mineral spirits or Gamsol or one of the others, like I think one of them's Zest It or something like that, then obviously do let it dry. See, there's a little bit much color there, and so that's why I went back with, I used a paper towel, and it will dry off my brush, and then you can lift excess water off. And with it comes, of course, some of the pigment, which is fine. But that's how you can get kind of that lift feel there, is kind of makes it glow a little bit lighter in the middle. Okay, so now that we have that, we gotta sit and, you know, stare at it forever and wait for it to dry. So I'll be right back. Alright, it's been a couple minutes and it is dry for me. Sometimes it may feel dry, and if you touch it and it feels cold, then it's not dry enough. Unless, of course, your paper's just cold, or your fingers are cold, and you can't tell, like me. So, next we're doing orange, which is the next layer up. It's this big one here, and then these two smaller ones. So, again, I'm just going to, see, it's not dry enough. go around the edge of this. And you will notice as you're coloring over it how you don't have quite as much tooth here because it is filled in a little bit with the pigment and whatnot from the previous layer, which is fine. No worries about that. But you'll notice going over it that is easier to color just on the white, which still has lots of tooth left. But tooth isn't really a big deal when you're working with watercolor pencils as much because you're just going to wet it and it's going to absorb the pigment anyway. So yeah, that's better. This, by the way, what I'm working on is Strathmore, I think. I had a whole bunch of questions about it. Hold on. I have to find my... Yep. This is a Strathmore watercolor paper. It is their hot press. It's only 140 pounds, so it is very lightweight, but it is quite nice actually for color pencils as well as watercolor and stuff. It is, like I said, very, very lightweight, but I really like it. I've just started using it and I do like it. You can get it in ready cut sizes like 8x10 or 5x7. And these, for me, are super handy. So, just thought I'd tell you what I'm using. And we get out our trusty little brush over here. And I'm going to wet that orange and just start bringing it out here. Just like that. And get this one over here. And if the with watercolor pencils, sometimes it's like, I blend it out and I'm like, wow, it got lighter than I wanted it to be. Like, just wait till it's dry and then do another swatch of it or whatnot. Like, do another pass, do another layer of it. Won't hurt it, and then you'll get more vibrant color if that's what you want. You can do it. Like this, yeah, I definitely think I want, more color. But for the sake of the tutorial, I may not do another layer of it. Just because I don't want to sit here and wait. Because, I'm impatient like that. See how the yellow started coming in again? I mean, there was some pigment there that was not activated the first time. By the way, if you have watercolor pencils or whatnot that you don't want to make the indentions or whatever, or it might leave pencil lines, you can always use your water brush or your paintbrush and get some pigment off of there and then paint with it. If you prefer that, that is completely possible. Basically, then you're using it like a watercolor pan, like a little watercolor pan, instead of a pencil. And you can totally do that. This is one of the things that I've done before to make sure that I don't have any pencil lines in work that I'm doing, if I'm not using watercolors themselves. And when using watercolors themselves, I do like pans. I have tubes of the Shinhan watercolors, artist watercolors, and I do love those. I do have Daniel Smiths as well now, just a few of them, because they were on a sale. So I do have those, and I do love those as well. Again, we're going to have to wait and let this dry, but you can always already kind of feel that translucent looking into it kind of feel to it, and I enjoy that a lot right now. Yeah. Now in the first one, I grayed out the very top of it with just a gray watercolor and went over it like once. If you want to do that, you can. You can change it and do it however you want. The white is a white gouache, which for me, I was using the artist gouache. This is M. Graham and Company. I also have, where did it go? It ran away from me. These are the Sever Fave or something like that. I can't say things, so I don't really even try. These were like pretty cheap. I got them at like Michael's, I think, and I used like one of the coupon codes. And I got like a whole little set of them. And I used them back in, I want to say like January, to do some like little landscape scenes and whatnot. It's really fun. Gouache is really fun, but these aren't artist grade. The M. Graham I have is. This says artist grade, by the way. I don't know that it is. Yeah, it just says it's imported, made in China, you know, like that kind of thing. And they're supposed to be like these really awesome like French watercolors. And I'm like, yeah, they're not. These are some kind of knockoffs. So, yeah. It says it conforms to the ASTMD light fastness rating, but it doesn't actually have a rating on here. So yeah, it's just one of those that's like, we say some stuff. Y'all believe us and we can sell it for a higher price. So, but eventually I probably will invest in some really nice gouaches, but it's not something I'm really huge into right now. So I'm into watercolors, which I love.